Hello everybody, and welcome to another live developer Q&A with our, oh no, wait, sorry, I don't know how that got up there, sorry, well, 1 second. Alright, round 2. Welcome to another live developer Q&A with game director Ian Hazakostas. Hi Ian.
Hi everyone.
Okay, so the first question is from Joss, I want to say Yoss?
I think it's Josh.
I'm gonna go with Yossa. And their question is, seriously, why has everything gone to shit?
Okay, so this is a question we get asked quite a lot. So people see everything has gone to shit, and they quite rightly ask, why has everything gone to shit? And at the same time, we're sitting here keeping tabs on all the things and their level of wrong, and keeping track of all the actual, data regarding the amount of shit and how we can best communicate that to the player base. Because, it's actually often just many things that have gone to shit rather than quite everything. So it's a case of getting to the bottom of that and letting the player base know about it. And actually, we're pretty happy with where we are with shit right now. And actually, Josh, is everything okay?
Yeah. I was playing on my shaman the other day, and something happened that made me write up a list of all the stuff we need to replace in this office, and rest assured, a new camera is number 1 on the list. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I'd say it's like number 2 on the list of things to be replaced.
Oh, right. Sounds good. Makes sense. You ready for the next question?
Sure.
Okay, this one comes from...
Knowledge is power.
Hello Internet, and welcome to another weekly reset, Taliesin and Evitel's Wondrous Wisdomshow, where we should be winding down for the year, getting the holiday specials together and getting ready for some serious hibernation downtime. But there's none of that this week because, shit Internet, have you seen what's been going on? We've had 8.1, we've had controversy after controversy, we've had my favourite Ian and Law Q&A of all time. And to top it off, some surprise news that leaves us very hopeful and excited for the future of this expansion. And the best thing is, we don't even have to wait a week for Christmas for all this exciting goodness, because we're going to unwrap this shit right here, right now, on this very episode. But first, Hippo Watch. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but Taliesin, you've got the Hippo now, just before those Discipline Priest nerfs came in, which was actually pretty good timing, seriously, well done. This section is over now, surely. And you're half right. Yes, I do have my Hippo. Maurice is my new best friend, it's a fact. And yes, there is no new progression to update you on, obviously, but this segment is called Hippo Watch. And yeah, we're just gonna watch this glorious roly-poly boy for a bit. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did, and if you didn't, well, tough shit, because it's my show and my Hippo, don't at me. But onwards with the proper news, and there is so much to cover this week, what with the patch, and the good stuff that came with it, and then the problems with the patch, and the bad stuff that came with that, and then at the end of the week, the Q&A, which addressed and added more context to both the good and the bad things that happened. So we're going to keep coming back to that Q&A throughout the episode, but for our main story, we're going to start with it. Because yes, this week we got another of those Ian and Law Q&As that we love. And so many of the things that we love about them were right in place. There was Law not just failing to pronounce the names of people who sent in the questions.
Comes from Giamibia, I believe. Capitan Torpel on Twitter. I don't know why I'm having so much trouble actually pronouncing names today. This is a problem.
It's never happened before.
But also failing to pronounce the names of his own colleagues who he works with literally every day.
It was previously mentioned by Ithacins, whatever.
There was the frankly outrageous technical problems that the stream had, with our two heroes constantly freezing in the most unflattering positions like it was the ending of some shit 80s cop show. And of course, there were the cherry-picked softball questions about pet battles and transmog, none of which answered any of the real questions players have about the game. But wait, it's actually, it turns out that there were some big questions raised in this Q&A, with Ian putting on his big boy pants and giving us some big answers, including one in particular regarding the future of Azerite armor. Because basically, there isn't one. Or okay, there kind of is, but there are big changes afoot coming in 8.2. Basically, building up artifact power to unlock the rings on your Azerite armor won't really be a thing in Rise of Azshara. All the rings are going to be set at a low enough level that they're essentially all unlocked by default, and instead, artifact power will be used to unlock powers on the Heart of Azeroth itself, which is... well, it's huge. It's essentially throwing out the existing progression system and replacing it with something else, which is going to be good news for, well, pretty much everyone, probably. Because whether you consider Azerite the game-breaking system that caused you to unsub, or whether you don't really mind it, or even if you quite like it, there's not many players that would argue that there's something that just doesn't click about Azerite armor as a system. Having to unlock the same traits you already had on a higher level piece, unlocking the best traits first so that there isn't much motivation to work towards unlocking the rest, the masochistic decision not to have each piece change depending on your spec, all of the above. Now, of course, those 5 rings are still going to be there on gear post 8.2, and so we're not going to miss out on all the fun of reforging or having endless multiple sets of stuff in our bags, but it does sound like the focus is going to really shift towards whatever this new system is on the neck itself. And as for what that is, well, obviously Blizzard don't really know that yet. Will it be a straight up artifact weapon type scenario where you unlock new traits along a set path? Perhaps, maybe more interestingly, could it be more of a Diablo talent system where you unlock a number of traits initially, but then as you progress and collect more Azerite power, you unlock different options for those traits that you can swap out? I'm not explaining that very well, but if you don't understand it, just Google Diablo 3 talent unlocks quickly on your phone. You guys all have phones, don't... And is this going to be just an AP collection thing, or will there be a gear acquisition part to it, like with the Netherlight Crucible? Yeah, that's right, I said Netherlight Crucible. See, Legion wasn't perfect. I think we forget that. That's all yet to be defined. Oh, and by the way, I very much like all of this talk of the Heart of Azeroth actually playing a bigger, more important role in the story too. I very, very much like this talk. Keep at it with that sweet talk, okay? And yeah, right now, no one can say if this is going to be the fix that saves the Azerite system in BfA, or if it turns out to be another interesting idea that doesn't quite work out. But you can feel the collective sigh of relief going around the community that they are at least willing to try something. You get the feeling that the main Azerite change coming in this patch, 8.1, the 5th ring, that was probably going to always happen anyway. That was in the pipeline since before this game launched. This, though, represents the real fix, the changes born of a realization that here was a system that wasn't equipped to look after itself once released into the wild. And perhaps these changes are a patch too late. Perhaps it was stubbornness on Blizzard's part that resulted in them being too late, or perhaps we aren't being understanding enough of how long game development and making these sort of changes actually takes. But whatever, all of that is a separate conversation. The main thing, I guess, is that it's happening in 8.2, which is probably around 5 months away. So yeah, it's big news, it's important news that people will be interested to know about, but it is news for the future, because Azerite armor as we know it is very much here to stay until then. So it's just as well, isn't it, that there is plenty happening in the here and now, with 8.1 finally landing this week. And yeah, I know, in an ideal world, by Ian's own admission, Tides of Vengeance would have arrived about 4 weeks ago. But it's here now, and if I had to sum it up, I'd say it was a patch of surprises. Some of them were good surprises, but some of them, internet, were not so good.
The war campaign, a pleasant surprise. It's not as time-gated as we assumed it would be, with multiple chapters all available to play through straight away, all in one go. Before the patch arrived, we talked about how we expected these storylines to be chopped up and drip-fed to us over the coming weeks, and how that was probably a bad thing. So by rights, we have to put our hands up and give Blizz credit that this isn't really the case. There's a good chunk of story content here for both factions, and there is still more to come leading into the battle for Dazar Alor, but getting this much of the campaign in one serving was a kind of, you asked your boyfriend to pick you up some chocolate on his way home and you were expecting like an arrow or something, but he brings back a nice Thornton selections instead type surprise. Then there's Darkshore, and yeah, it's a good surprise. Okay, so let's be frank, it's not a I used to hate Warfronts because they're boring and shit, but now Darkshore is here and I love them so much. I'm gonna marry Warfronts, I'm gonna change my middle name to Warfronts, I'm getting a tattoo of Warfronts type surprise. It's still essentially just a Warfront, but I think I'm in the majority when I say it's a lot more streamlined, a lot more direct, feels more like an actual battle than Stromgarde, and is an improvement. And the transmogs are sweet too. It's a Warfront. It's fine. Like, there's a coworker you hate because they're really sarcastic and you come into work one day and he doesn't totally piss you off with the first thing he says type surprise. Oh, and the Darkshore quests leading up to the Warfront? Top notch. In-game cutscenes with my character hanging out with Tyrande and her weird accent that I'm never quite sure what it is. Like, I'm not even joking, seriously, what is Tyrande's accent supposed to be? And the new terrifying dark night elf jellybean eyes customization options that come with it. Awesome. Personally, the most unexpected nice surprise so far is invasion assaults. In the whole lead up to Tides of Vengeance, I've been completely uninterested in these. On the face of it, they're nothing we haven't seen before, being BfA's version of the Legion invasion. But some of the events I've taken part in so far have turned out to be so much better, because you know what we didn't have in Legion? War mode. And okay, sorry, if you're one of those people that absolutely refuses to switch war mode on, that's absolutely fine and everything, but we're totally going to talk about how great war mode is right now and how the new invasions facilitate world PvP in a really fun way. Because these assaults only happen in one zone at a time, but the missions are for both factions, and those missions aren't spread all over the map like the ones in Legion either. They are concentrated into a very specific area, which means all those Alliance and Horde players get funneled into more or less the same place, and all around them are NPCs dressed in their faction colors, going at each other, and you know it would be rude not to join in, so you join in, and before you know it, there's some excellent world PvP going on, and it's not even random. It totally feels like there should be PvP going on in this place at this time. It doesn't happen every time there's an assault up, but when it does, it's awesome, and totally what the big Battle for Azeroth faction war should be feeling like on the day-to-day. A kind of a, I went to the dentist to get a root canal, but when I got there, the dentist drill was broken, so we just went and watched Into the Spider-Verse instead type surprise. And then there's the frame rate. Now look, I don't know if that new DirectX 12 multi-threading thing that we've heard about has been implemented or not yet, but I can't be the only one that's noticed substantial FPS gains since 8.1, especially in places where it's usually pretty bad, like Borealis. In fact, I know I'm not. Most people with DirectX 12 compatibility are reporting 10 to 20 extra frames per second in their BfA capital, which is a big deal if you were only managing around 40 in the first place. A kind of a, someone sent me loads of gold in an in-game mail, and I don't know if they did it on purpose or not, but I'm keeping it anyway kind of surprise. And the leveling XP-ner, it's actually really noticeable how much quicker it is to level up now. Happy days. And the surprise edition of the Elixir of Tongues, which allows you to understand what people on the other faction are saying, is great, even though it's not quite as fun as the name suggests it to be. But it's not all blowjobs and strawberries and Tides of Vengeance, of course. This week has had its fair share of less than pleasant surprises too, in the form of the good old undocumented changes. There's a ton of these with every major patch. Wowhead has a great article which we'll link below covering them all, from dungeon mob changes to the missing portals in the Pandaria capitals to minuscule alterations of boss health and decades-old content. But there always just seems to be one or two that you feel really would have probably been worth mentioning at some point in advance, you know? Like when players discovered pretty early on that they could no longer delete Mythic plus keys. Yeah, that's a big one, I guess. Ian explained this in the Q&A at the end of the week, saying that you aren't supposed to be able to delete keys and get replacements. You couldn't in Legion after all, and that this was something they'd had to implement to try and clean up the mess after people were getting totally the wrong keys in the first week of BfA, which is fine as a reason, but you've kind of got to ask, did we need to leave the key deleting thing in the game for 3 months after it had fixed Blizzard's initial mess? You've got to expect players are going to be used to it by then, right? And okay, so this was actually in the patch notes, but it still was a nasty surprise for most people. As was the artifact knowledge freeze. Every week the amount of artifact power you need for each new level on your Heart of Azeroth has decreased, making it easier for new characters to catch up. A much better implemented version of the Legion system which did exactly the same thing. You may not have noticed it happening, but without it you'd have a considerably lower level on your neck piece right now. With 8.1, that steady decrease in required artifact power has been temporarily halted, meaning for the first time since BfA launched, it's no easier for you to reach your next level next week than it is this week. This is what happened in Legion at various points too, and the reason is obvious, as Ian said in the Q&A later. If you didn't put artifact knowledge on hold every now and then, you'd start to see massive gaps between players. And that's the thing, even though it's a nasty surprise, it's actually the right decision from a gameplay point of view, and pretty much everyone agrees with that. The kind of thing where if it had been announced to us in advance, would have been a good thing, rather than something people make angry Twitter posts and YouTube videos about. And surely telling us is the easy bit, right? I don't think they purposely tried to keep this a secret or anything malicious, because if it was, then Blizzard have taken the worst at keeping secret title from Rachel Dolezal. There's no way that they were hoping we wouldn't notice this. I genuinely think it's probably just what they say it was, them being a bit rubbish. Like they were rubbish with communicating the Keystone change. And it's not great, obviously, but the most important thing has to be that the correct decision has been made overall with artifact knowledge. Like, I'd rather have the right system implemented with terrible communication than the wrong system implemented with excellent communication in the long run. Obviously, it would be great, Blizz, if we could get both sometimes, you know? But I'm married to Taliesin, I'm used to compromise.
But really, it's easy to see why a player base which was kind of on edge anyway would have got upset about these things. So let me ask you something, Internet. When you've just released a new major patch a little bit later than you'd like, and you drop the ball on a couple of things it would have been really easy just to not drop the ball on, like something as simple as announcing something in advance, and that is distracting an agitated community from some of the genuinely good stuff in your patch, what would be the best way, do you think, of getting things back on track? I know what I would do. Playable Tuskars, obviously. But we all know that the WoW devs are proper jealous of my amazing ideas, or, you know, my one amazing Tuskar-shaped idea, and that'll never happen. So instead, we got a new store mount! The Vulpine Familiar is clearly awesome and beautiful, and it's got wings, which is stupid because everyone knows that a flying fox mount should have spinning propeller tails for flying. That's just science. You can't argue with science. But whatever, this is a unique and desirable mount, and it is yours for only $25 or £19 or whatever you pay for your store mounts wherever you are. And you know, Internet, there are those that might argue that with everything I've just said about the player base being on edge right now, that actually this might not be the best time to release a store mount. What with all the stigma of corporate greed and microtransactions, and that this is definitely terrible optics. But surprisingly perhaps, that's not an opinion you saw much of on the forums, where actually it was generally agreed now was the perfect time to release a new store mount. 8.1 has brought so many new mounts to the table with such a variety of different ways to acquire them that actually any resentment about a new cash shop addition to the stable generally got diluted by the general happiness of mount collectors over the plethora of no, it was a shit show. Obviously. It just keeps happening! I'm gonna be honest, this is pretty disgusting. It's the reason I changed my battle tag to Blizzard sucks. Why are we okay with Blizzard putting any mounts in the shop and no way to earn them in the game? The fact that you can't get them in-game without spending extra cash is the problem for me and others. Cool mounts available in-game would be so much better. Now, I know what you're thinking, Internet. You're thinking, oh, that segment wasn't as funny as usual. Those last 3 comments are actually really reasonable, to be fair, and you're right. They are. And the thing is, I totally agree that when you have a game with a subscription, everything should be earnable in the game. Every little bit of content that those devs make should be attainable to me. It doesn't have to be easy, but I have to still have access to it. I hate cash shops in games. I hate microtransactions. In fact, that second comment, this is pretty disgusting, that's my comment on the announcement of the Mythic Rune Saber back in WoD, and I hope you appreciate the excellent point I'm making here, because this comment took me hours, seriously, to find for this. But that was me. I used to rage against the cash shop every day. There is no way there should be things on that shop that you cannot earn in game. But here's the thing, it's not like that anymore. Because since the WoW token came along, everything on that cash shop is earnable in-game with in-game gold, without you paying a penny of extra cash on top of your subscription, which, by the way, you can also buy in-game with gold and not have to pay real money for at all. So comments like, cool mounts available in-game would be so much better, are not funny. They actually worry me because they're just wrong, and they make me worry that there are so many comments like this. I feel like so many people don't actually understand that this new mount, like everything else on the store, is available without spending any real money. Pretty easily too, to be honest. And furthermore, if you're a long-time viewer of this channel, you'll know this because we explain how to do it on the first ever episode of the Weekly Reset. Hello Internet, my name is Taliesin.
And I'm Evitel.
And welcome to the Weekly Reset. Yeah, that one. And you know, it's pretty complicated, pretty long-winded, so I was tempted just to replay the segment from that video. But I decided to put the work in instead, and so here is our updated guide for 2018. Buy a WoW token from the auction house using your in-game gold, and when you click on it, just select Add to Battle.net balance instead of game time, and there it is! Free IRL money in your Battle.net account. Like seriously, for reals. It's going to take you 2 WoW tokens to buy this new store mount, which is about 350,000 gold. More than 10 times cheaper than the Brutosaur, cheaper than the Spider, cheaper than the Lightforged Warframe, and about the same price as the beautiful new Frog Boy mounts, which is unfortunate for the Fox really, because seriously, why would anyone ever buy that when you could get this beautiful round jumpy boy for the same amount of gold? You know, it turns out I think I've got a thing for perfectly round mounts. Like seriously, the rounder the better apparently. Now, you probably know this already because, you know, you watched the first ever episode of the Weekly Reset back in February 2017. And this is our new weekly show. It's going to come out every week on the dot like clockwork. Yeah, that one. But clearly, a huge amount of players don't. And this is why I don't rage against store mounts anymore. I don't like the store. I don't disagree with arguments that obviously it might be more fun to have these mounts behind a quest line or something, but those are all details. The only argument I can make for them being bad or wrong is if I can't get them in game, and I can. Considerably easier than I can most other gold-only mounts as it happens. So this is not a defense of the store or cash mounts. I will happily agree with every criticism you have of them, except if you say the fact that you can't get them in game without spending extra cash is the problem for me and others, because that's just not true. Criticism is useless if you get your facts wrong. And you know, please don't even think of this as me disagreeing with you, but as a public service announcement. And yeah, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but yeah, Taliesin, someone had to pay you that money. Somewhere along the line for that WoW token you bought with gold, money has still changed hands here. Yeah, like I'm supposed to care about that when I get free shit because I play the game a lot. In fact, that makes me like it more. Now think about this, hardcore gamer bros. Who is most likely to buy a WoW token for money? What you would call a casual gamer. Who then gets free stuff because they did that? You, the hardcore gamer who puts more hours into the game. This is better than free shit, bro. This is casuals paying for your shit. Don't tell me you don't like that idea, bro. I know you like that idea. It's like POG or something. It's probably POG. Oh, we made it.
Yeah.
Another episode, another weekly reset, one that may not have happened and very nearly did. Now, my apologies if you're like a regular viewer of this channel and you were really looking forward to the midweek video this week.
Yeah.
Because you will have noticed if you were looking out for it, it didn't happen though. And this one's probably very late. We're a little bit behind there because everything's taking a lot longer. And the reason for that is this. Do you remember last week when we were sitting on this very sofa? Right here, you were there.
I remember.
I was here.
And then we were talking.
You said something witty and clever. Went to edit it on the big computer, and the big computer wouldn't turn on because the water pump on our excellent custom water cooling loop had blown. It had gone. So I spent Monday and Tuesday replacing the water cooling pump on the computer, which I turned out to be what I thought really, really good at.
It was pretty amazing.
I actually created a really beautiful new loop with a little tap in it, so easier to drain next time and stuff like that.
All of the draining and the cutting and the delicate maneuvering.
It was
I
very
was really
delicate.
impressed.
It was really good, especially when I accidentally cut my hand really, really badly on like a sharp bit of barb that was being used with the tubing, and like quite badly. And what happened was I kind of accidentally bled all over the graphics card, which you will have seen on stream because it was fine for a couple of hours, but then obviously the actual Taliesin's actual blood from my
sizzled.
actual body must have shorted the card, and it shorted and died live on stream.
Yeah.
Like we were doing a stream, I was riding my hippo, and the graphics card went. Maybe the graphics card needed more blood. Maybe it got a taste for it. Yeah. Maybe it was like, maybe that's what was running so well before. It was like, oh, this is amazing. I need more. And when it got none, it was like, oh, withering. I didn't hear over the cool sounds of my cool stream.
R.I.P. graphics card.
Yeah, so the graphics card completely went, and obviously then Wednesday and Thursday were spent working out actually kind of what had happened and what had gone wrong, and it took us a day or so to find out that it was the graphics card. Yeah. What an interesting story. That's amazing.
Such a good story.
This is the best video ever. Our basic setup now, which we have tried streaming with and does work, is that the laptop is over there, and it's got like no less than 8 cables just sticking out of it like some weird techno mecha arachnid of death.
It's cool.
this will be the last weekly reset episode until after Christmas.
Yeah.
We won't do another weekly reset episode before Christmas because we won't be able to. We're going on like away, holiday, fun time, seeing family, stuff like that. We simply won't have the resources or facilities to do it. But there will be more videos coming next week and the week after and throughout Christmas because I've got a plan.
Oh?
Well, yeah, I do have a plan. We're going to get a video out that we've been meaning to get out for ages. We're going to get a video out which is a special Christmas treat for me, which no one else is going to want to see, but I'm going to want to see. Yeah. There might be a regular limited edition video coming out as well, just for those who know what I'm talking about and want to see it again. And there'll be other little surprise videos over Christmas as well, so keep your eyes peeled. And in fact, I can reveal, we'll be doing a little giveaway on Christmas Day, on December the 25th, so keep your eye on our Twitter for that.
Yeah. Well, that's very exciting.
I guess you can tell I'm incredibly excited.
I thought you said we were taking a break over Christmas.
I'm taking a break. You're going to be working very hard.
My new desk.
I've bled real blood. I've got no blood right now. I'm a husk. I'm a withered husk. You have to do all the work. You're like my blood troll.
I knew it.
I tell you what I am excited about though is the Hivemind mount. Okay, so when I was up until 4 o'clock in the morning, this is proof of how late I stay up writing these scripts. Okay, this is like genuine proof because I was awake when the Hivemind finally got solved. Yeah. The new secret mount. And some of those clues we might do a show on it.
Oh my god,
some of those clues are crazy. But it's mad, and like the mount is amazing. And I was there when like general chat started going crazy, and I zoned into Borealis because I needed some like footage or something. And there were just loads of Hivemind mounts because you have to be in a group of 5 to get it. There's a bit where you have to like do something at the same time, and so if you've got it, 4 of your friends have probably got it as well. So like all these groups of Hiveminds floating around, and it was awesome. It felt like really special to be there.
But then the question is, whose Hivemind do you get into to make it go fast?
I literally don't know about that. I was basically I thought I was hallucinating at first anyway, because when I zoned into Borealis, I was on my hippo and I was in a line with other hippos. This is true. This is a genuine thing that happened. Like, and I hadn't been online on that character for at least half an hour. So it can't have been planned. They couldn't have seen me zone out and go, oh, we'll stand here so it'll be funny when he zones back in. Yeah. Like, that couldn't have been it. It must have been complete chance. And I zoned in perfectly in between 2 other hippos in a line, watching the Hivemind bounce. It was like a really weird experience, but it felt very festive and communal and joyous on there. But it was about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. I wasn't awake. Of course not.
I was slipping.
Hivemind is just for me. You were slipping?
Yeah.
That's some cool get
to
speak.
Like Bay caught me slipping.
Yeah.
No.
Bay caught you slipping?
Oh, you don't know memes.
What did Bay catch you doing?
Okay.
Bay, what are you doing with my wife?
Do you know this meme?
Clearly not.
Okay. Okay, let me explain. So it's when someone takes a photo of themselves.
You can't see this, by the way, but she's touching my leg, like really kind of soothingly right now, to kind of like as if she's explaining to an idiot. Sorry, carry on.
So,
yeah.
It's when someone takes a selfie of themselves that looks like they're asleep. And then says, Bay caught me sleeping.
Oh,
but then you clearly see like their arm, or you see a reflection in the mirror.
I do know that meme.
You do know that
I do know that
meme.
meme, but I thought you said slipping.
But
so
you
I
say Bay caught me slipping.
Yesterday we watched a video of people slipping on ice.
Oh yeah.
And it was really funny, and I thought that's what you meant. I thought you would still. Because you laughed for a good hour about that video. Like you watched it about 12 times, and it was funny. But I thought you were still talking about the video of people slipping on ice.
No.
Bay caught me slipping. Like people like filming themselves like slipping on ice on purpose, trying to make it look fake.
Yeah. Bay caught me.
Bay caught me slipping. I can see your arm. Bay didn't catch you slipping. You slipped yourself. You thought. Thank you for joining us today. If you like this video, don't thank us. Thank our patrons who give their actual real life money to help our videos happen. Guys, thank you so much. Without you guys, there'd be a lot less Taliesin and Evitel.
And if you didn't like this video, downvote the shit out of it. And remember, my name is Veneka.
No.
I wish it was.
You don't really know how to say it properly, so
no, but
just as well
really
it's not
talented.
your name.
She's like amazingly talented.
This is like take 6. You've had so many different ways of saying your name, Vaneka. Sorry that it's definitely wrong.
Sorry.
She is amazingly talented. This is true. No, from me, Taliesin.
And me, Evitel.
Until next time, cheerio.